Okay, here we are, October the 31st, 2022. This is a Monday. It's in the afternoon, probably about 2 o'clock. We're in Bangkok, Thailand, and this is at the auto auction. This is outside. This is in the yard. These are vehicles waiting to come into the auction. This one's been through an auction 4 times. So it's going to be up for auction tomorrow. And what does that mean? That means nobody was even able to bid or willing to bid the reserve on the vehicle. And I'm not sure exactly what the rules are here at this auction, but oftentimes if a car goes through an auction and doesn't sell, there's an auction fee that you pay if you're the owner of the car. And so what that's doing is encouraging you to lower the reserve, because obviously the auction doesn't make any money unless they move a car. So if you don't want to sell it, well, then you're going to pay storage. So let's take a look here. This is actually a normally aspirated, port fuel injected 6-cylinder, inline 6-cylinder. Here we see the mass airflow meter in the early style Mercedes connector. Here we see the fuel pressure regulator. This is simply referencing the spring chamber to the intake manifold. So here is our fuel pressure regulator. Now, since I have the regulator here, you know I have a return going back to the tank. So the gasoline's going in a circle. Electric fuel pump in the tank, comes up here, exceeds the pressure, limited by the regulator, and then returns the excess fuel back to the tank, going around in a circle. Well, that keeps the fuel rail nice and cool and keeps our 6 electronic port fuel injectors. Now, these are port fuel injectors, so that means that fuel pressure is probably pretty low, probably anywhere, with the engine running between 35 and 45 psi. And let's take a look here. As we look at the very front of the vehicle, we of course see a couple of dual electric fans. We do also have an engine-driven fan through a viscous clutch, and that clutch feels good. Cooling is so important here in Bangkok, Thailand. Now here's something that's very important too, is that my air intake, I want to be careful because I'm going to have a problem with high water. So you want that air intake to be good and high. Kind of don't want it to be facing forward though, but I do have a splash shield. Here we see the air cleaner assembly, and oftentimes on the air cleaner assembly, let me see if I feel anything here, it wouldn't be a bad idea to make a drain and make sure that if I did ingest water, it drained out immediately and kind of discourage water passage through the pleated filter element. And here we have the filter element, mass airflow meter coming across to the throttle body. Now this is an early style Mercedes, so it has a mechanical throttle linkage. I do have a cruise control actuator, but I have a mechanical throttle linkage. So a mechanical throttle. Here, let's come across here and take a look. Here we see our power steering pump, and this is of course the fluid reservoir. Looks like they've been doing some work on it there. Now here with Mercedes, as with a lot of European cars, in order to encourage the water flow and control water flow through the heater core, you'll notice that I have my own separate pump right here, and here I have a series of either pumps or solenoids that are going to control the flow of coolant. They're through the heater cores. Sometimes I have more than one for the driver and one for the rear seat passengers, I should say. Here's our fuse relay center. Now, normally what happens here with Mercedes, battery is all important, and it's usually there in the back of the vehicle, oftentimes in the trunk. Here I see my radiator core support. Looks like it comes right out and gives me access to the radiator, AC condenser, and of course to service my electric cooling fans if necessary. One thing that's an interesting thing to note is that the lower and the upper radiator hose are on the same side, and certainly makes it easy to get to. Here I have some type of camshaft position sensor and then coolant temperature sensor. As I look, I see my AC compressor And I noticed that I actually have an electrical plug there into the compressor clutch, and I may have an associated control valve there as part of the AC compressor. I see an accumulator, or I should say that's actually on the high side, so that's going to be actually a pulsation dampener. That's going to be a muffler there to kind of quiet the sound of the pistons coming up on their compression strokes there for the AC compressor. We move out there to the condenser, and then as we come back from the condenser, I have a receiver dryer. And this is a relief valve. So if for some reason the high side pressure gets abnormally high, this will burp and allow the refrigerant to escape. And this is a pressure valve, and what this is doing, I shouldn't say pressure valve, this is a pressure switch or pressure sensor. So this is going to be controlling the electric fans there in front, obviously through a electronic control unit, and also too may even select to turn off the AC compressor if conditions warrant that. Alright, let's kind of move around here just a little bit. This is kind of an antique vehicle. Actually, it's not in bad shape. Obviously, it's been painted just recently, or painted numerous times. Now this actually, some of this is a preservative on the inside. You're saying, oh, was that really a factory color? No, that's that preservative they put on the inside. And remember, here in Thailand, we never have any salt or snow or anything like that. There would never be any salted roads. Well, here we see the pressurized coolant reservoir, and I believe this is some type of, I noticed that they have this wired right here. That might have something to do with some type of an adjustment. I'm not real familiar with what this is. I'm just looking at the writing on it there. If you see what that is, please mention that in the comments. Here I have obviously a adapter here to connect the vehicle harness to a engine harness. And then we come across, here we see our anti-lock brake assembly, pump motor, valve body and pump, the actual mechanical part of the pump, and here we see the electronic control unit. This is kind of a standard package. Now, as I look over here, this right here is my fuse relay center, and there we see the vacuum brake booster. I very likely do have a vacuum pump here to make sure that I have sufficient vacuum for the vacuum brake booster at all times. And there's my master cylinder brake fluid reservoir. Let's take a quick look at the inside. Alright, here we're sitting on the inside of our S500, and this is an earlier model. I'm going to guess this is a 90s vintage S500, and actually it's not too bad on the inside. The steering wheel looks to be in excellent condition, and the dash is certainly reasonable. Because of the age of this vehicle, I don't have any type of liquid crystal display. I do see that the owner opted to replace the original equipment stereo system with a aftermarket JVC unit. A couple of little things are kind of not working properly right here. In fact, it looks like that might have been vandalized at one time trying to open it. But I guess that would be a little eyeglass or sunglass compartment. And here we have, of course, the control for the ducts right here for the center and the side and the temperature up and down. And here I see, of course, my glove box. I believe that's the lock for the glove box. So this is the lower glove box, and I guess this right here was the upper glove box, but unfortunately it's been damaged. The car is actually pretty clean. This is an older car, so we're looking at probably a 25-year-old car, and it's actually pretty clean for a 25-year-old car. So I'd have to say yes. And here we see our, oops. There we go, and that was the headrest there for the rear seats, and it has a screen in the back. And here I have my windows up and down, and I have to see the key is not in the vehicle. It's a mechanical key, but I notice that all the accessories seem to be functioning. And I notice the driver's seat seems to be working. Yeah, so this looks like a a nice vehicle right here. Now, it's been through 4 auctions, so tomorrow is its 5th auction. So this thing has been through the auction right here. And I'm going to guess this unit, the transmission, is that the this may be a 4-speed Mercedes transmission. That would be a real early one. I see the 2.3D right here. What happens in about 1996, Mercedes introduced the 5G-tronic, and then I guess it was about 2003, 2004, the 7G-tronic, and 2012, 2013, the 9G-tronic. Now, they didn't use the 5G-tronic designation until, of course, that unit was introduced in 1996. So this is going to be one of the early 4-speed Mercedes units, and there's nothing wrong with that unit. It's just that we're talking about 26, 27 years old. So that's really hard to get parts for that. And sometimes it's a real nuisance if there's a problem there. So, but certainly a beautiful car, a big car, a nice clean sedan. Let's take a look at the outside. All right, here is our S500, our Mercedes S500. And this is an older Mercedes. It has a normally aspirated inline 6-cylinder port fuel injected engine. And let's kind of walk around here. The body's actually in excellent condition. The interior is not too bad. Now, what I mean by this, let's just take a look at this auction numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this means it's been through 4 auctions. The 5th auction is going to be tomorrow, and let's see if anybody bids on it. If they won't bid the reserve, then obviously the car doesn't sell. Now, I noticed that we have a little quick repair on this mirror on this side, so apparently it's not folding properly. We had taken a look at the interior. Tinted windows are pretty much standard here in Thailand because of the high temperatures and sometimes the bright sunshine. But as we look at the finish of this car, obviously it was protected from the elements, so it was either in a garage or under a cover normally. The condition of the plastic of the taillights is excellent. A few little scuffs here and there on the finish, but otherwise the vehicle is in very good shape, and I don't really see any curb rash to speak of there on the alloy wheels.